Big news. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to tell it or should I tell it?
You tell it.
Okay. So
It really impacted my self-esteem and self-worth because I was like, I am literally contributing very little at this point to the daily household operations, to my business. So obviously you and how you were very compassionate and kind of got me through that rough patch. But
amp it up a bit more at work, especially if you're a business owner, and try to do more. But at the same time, if your wife is sick and she's needing you more, there's sort of like a pull in both directions, which...
Plus you had to...
Hello everyone and welcome to...
Blended!
My name is Max and...
Your name is Max?
Let's do it
My
again.
name is Max.
My name is Max. My name is Moin, and this is a podcast about couples from different backgrounds and everything that you go through.
And blended families. It works on multiple levels.
Blended families, kids from past relationships, and yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
So,
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Blended. Big news. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to tell it or should I tell it?
You tell it.
Okay. So we are expecting a baby.
Da-da-da-da.
Da-da-da.
Hence my Farmer Joe overalls here.
Hence our Farmer Joe overalls in this episode and maybe
every other
last
episode
one,
where I've looked a little rough.
Yes.
It's been a rough go.
Some of you may have guessed it already. But yeah, we're in week 11.
As of today, we are in week 11.
As of today, we are in week 11.
So 1 week left of the first trimester.
1 week
and
left.
We've cleared it.
Yeah, so far Max has a kid from her past, and I have my daughter from my past, and we didn't have one together. So it was always in the works that we're gonna have a baby together. Just the matter of figuring out when it's gonna be. That was fun. So yeah, now it's finally happening. So we'll start from the initial conversation of timing, which is a very important part for a lot of people.
Yes.
To when to have the actual baby with work or with businesses.
We were just talking to
kids,
a friend of ours about that recently when he was in from out of town. And
yes.
I think a common sentiment is I want to wait till I'm ready. I want to wait until X, Y, and Z are aligned. I want to wait until I make X amount of dollars, or we're in this certain house or whatever. But I think you probably would feel the same, as we both had children in unexpected circumstances, is that no matter what, it's never going to be the right time, quote unquote. You do your best to mitigate any kind of risk or whatever and be smart about it. But you figure it out. Nothing is ever perfect. And even if it's perfect when you get pregnant, it could be different by the time the baby's here. So you can only control so much. And
exactly.
If your relationship is ready, that's the big one. I'd say everything else is in flux, but if your relationship is solid and ready, communication is really strong, then that's one I'd say is the biggest one.
That's the main thing, especially for newer couples or people without kids. And kids, a lot of times people have kids, it's unplanned, and so they make do, right? And I'll do a plug-in here for my book, which I wrote when I had my first daughter, which was unplanned, and I was still in university. It's called Grow With Your Baby, so I wrote a whole book about it.
It's on Amazon. It's excellent.
It's on Amazon. And so it's the whole thing is about, it's planned or unplanned. You can never really be ready if you've never really had a child before for what is to come. And so trust your instincts, listen to your parental role models, if you will. And then you end up finding your own groove somewhere down the line of what sort of beliefs and philosophies and teachings you want to go into yourself.
Yeah, do your research and find the parenting philosophy that strikes a chord with you. That
Patreon! If you guys like what you're doing, you're gonna love what we're doing on Patreon.
With the Patreon, you get exclusive behind the scenes content such as photos, videos, other things like that. Not to mention all of it is ad-free.
Yes, not just ad-free, you also get early and exclusive access to all our episodes before they are launched on YouTube. And not just that, we're also making special content for our Patreons who really love and support our journey here. So head on over to patreon.com/The
Blended Couple.
Yes, and the link will be in the description below. And while you're at it, might as well give us a...
feels wholesome and in line with who you are and who you want to be as a parent and the home you want to have with your kids. And
Exactly. And so
yeah.
now I'll bring it back to us, to our conversations around when to have the baby. And so it started with you. Well, Max wanted to have a kid like yesterday. And so my main thing was the conventional one. We need to be financially ready. And obviously having a newborn in the house is a lot. You have one partner who's they're also earning an income. They're now either on maternity leave or taking it slow. So you have to think about that. And it's also you have to do more around the house um, for both of you. There's obviously an infant. They cry a lot during the night. It's just a lot of sleepless nights. And so haven't been gone through that previously. I just wanted to be sure that we want to time it right and that we can do it
the right way.
The right way. Especially because the last one was unplanned.
Yes.
And so what were your thoughts around it? So there's also a time clock biologically for females.
Biological clock. I was very
clock.
I have been, I don't know, it's probably rational, but like for the past, I'd say 3 years, and I'm like 33. For the past, yeah, I think it was right around
32.
Am I 32?
Yes.
Okay, so
I'm 33.
Yeah.
I just turned 33.
I'm 32. I thought it was 31 2 weeks ago. So I think that right around hitting my 30s mark, I started really feeling the pressure of like how my egg quality was going to decline and my ability to get pregnant, and like because last time I was pregnant I was 23. Like that's like a 10-year gap almost.
Yeah, I was 25.
Yeah, so I felt a lot of pressure biologically to like get things going because I really genuinely was convinced that I was going to have a hard time conceiving, which was not the case.
Not the case. I never had any doubts.
No,
about
you did not. It wasn't your part of the equation I was worried about. It was mine. I don't know why. I was so stressed that I wasn't going to be able to get
You were
pregnant.
also stressed about mine. You had me taking all these extra supplements.
Yes.
I take supplements every day for the last, 10 years. And she had me taking more supplements.
I just said CoQ10. Highly recommend. Male partners both should be taking CoQ10 for 3 months prior to when you're trying to conceive.
Right. And what were you saying?
Anyways, I just felt a lot of like pressure in terms of like, okay, my clock is ticking because we know by 36, which I realize is several years away, but by 36, your fertility drops like by 2/3. Like it's a significant drop. So
dramatically, and then the chances of complications with the pregnancy also
like birth defects, trisomy related issues. Like there's just and like my like physical health throughout the pregnancy is also at higher risk and things like that. So I'm also impatient. I'll just be upfront about that. I'm very once I know I want something, it's very, very hard for me to be patient. Which I'm working on it, but
correct. Well, the baby's gonna make you wait 9 months.
I know, it's killing me already.
So we planned for obviously we wanted to cleanse
and then like really taking care of our health. Like we both became more physically active,
eating healthy.
I was taking all the supplements. I was taking a prenatal. I was like focused on nutrition, as you always are, but I was focused on it. I think just getting our bodies physically ready before we were like, okay, for 3 months straight, these are our goals to have, and then once we've been able to do that, then we'll start trying.
Right. And then you had a concern about how long it's going to take.
I was convinced it would take 6 months to a year. I was like, we should start now because it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while.
So that's something to also consider. Like, you don't get pregnant right away usually. What was the average you saw? It was like 3 months?
3 to 6 months is the average. Like most couples who are actively trying to conceive the right way, like if you're timing biologically with ovulation, etc.
Oh yes, all that stuff.
Like there's a huge margin for error in a lot of statistics because people don't understand how their bodies work, and your window to actually get pregnant is like 4 or 5 days in an entire female cycle. So if you're not timing that accurately, then there's really very little chance of getting pregnant. So of the people who are timing it properly, I think it's like 80% of couples get pregnant by 6 months, and then further on, it's like at 12 months, it's I think 90%, and then the remaining 10% have fertility issues.
Right. So that's the window, and then you had a lot more.
Those are rough quotes, by the way.
Rough quotes. Do not quote us on that. You obviously had a lot more work to do in terms of tracking your cycle,
Yes.
finding out when ovulation is, and you were tracking them through different metrics.
Yeah, so there's basal body temp where you literally take your temperature every single morning, and it's like a more accurate thermometer. It's a special one. So it does 2 decimal points instead of 1 on a traditional thermometer. And the second one, which is the one I highly recommend, is LH strips, which measure your luteinizing hormone. So about 24 hours prior to ovulation, it'll spike. And so we found out that I was ovulating like far outside the window of like what the average woman does. And so that was really useful information for us.
Yeah. And then that's what worked for us again. So there's different stuff out there.
Yeah. I just got like a cheap pack off of Amazon. So it was like 100 pack plus 20 pregnancy tests for like $20. It was super affordable. And I'm a little intense about stuff that I really want. So I was testing like every single time I would pee, but so I liked the big pack.
Yeah, but it was cool to see the hormone levels up and down, and then finding the right window. And so once we nailed that down,
and like in the same 3-month prior window where we're getting all of our health stuff kind of in line, I was testing that so I could figure out kind of what our ideal window would be, so that by the time we were ready to start trying, we had kind of a solid plan in place.
Right.
And even then, it's a guessing game, to be honest, but it gives you more information.
Right. And then after it didn't happen the first time.
Yes.
What happened to you? Max started spiraling again.
You had promised me for like 2 years. Oh, first time, one and done, and we're good to go. So
one and done is what I said, but that means it will be done fairly quickly. Nothing to worry about. So anyway, after the first time didn't work, and then you started freaking out more, and then I was like, okay.
I calmed down after. It just threw me for a bit of a loop.
For a bit of a loop. And anyway, I started taking my CoQ10 after. And then the next cycle, it was done.
Yeah, and
that
was crazy.
Twice and done.
Yeah.
It was.
You were very close on your estimate.
Yes.
It was very fast. Like, that's very fast. Most people, I don't think it happens that quickly for.
Which was what I was expecting, so that's why I wanted to delay it further. But again, then there's the more you wait, and if you actually find out later that there's fertility issues, then if you're 33 or 34,
that's the thing, right?
It's cutting it close, right? So you want to start a couple of years earlier, just in case if you find out there's issues, then you have time to fix before that.
Exactly.
Whatever that number is.
I was like, if there is an issue, we're better off finding out now instead of like waiting forever and then finding out we have an issue and then you're like really in crunch time with like not as good quality eggs, because your egg quality is not like super fluctuating. Like, you are born with all the eggs you're ever going to have as a female, and then everything you do in your lifetime affects the quality of those eggs and your egg supply. And so I had been smoking for, I don't know,
a long time.
7 years.
Right.
I was a late bloomer, but and so I really had panicked that I had like completely destroyed my egg supply, which I hadn't, obviously, but yeah, that's kind of where I was coming from in my panic. I also have anxiety, so all of that was amplified very intensely.
Right, and ADHD, and you had to go off your medication.
Yes, I had to go off my
That
Vyvanse.
was a big one. You have to go off for ADHD medication, which is a huge adjustment for anyone who's on medication and has ever had to go off.
Yeah, that's been
the most challenging part.
I think, honestly, like, I've been sick with the pregnancy hormones, like very, very ill. Not nearly as bad as some people get it, but
right, that was my next question. Like, what was something that you did not expect after you got pregnant? And you didn't anticipate any morning sickness?
So with my first pregnancy, I, like, honestly, if I hadn't like had the ultrasound and everything, I truly wouldn't have really known I was pregnant until I physically started showing, because I had like very, very little nausea, very little scent sensitivity, like quite literally like nothing. And so naively, I went into this pregnancy thinking it'll be the same thing again. It has not been. So I've started with nausea. I had cramping, like a lot of cramping very early. And then, so that freaked me out because that was new. Again, it's normal for most people. Then I got hit with morning sickness, which is not morning sickness. It is all freaking day sickness.
Yep.
And that started early, and it's still going on 8 weeks later. Like that started pretty early, and it's been intense, like, and exhaustion. So I've been like off my ADHD medication, which has a huge impact on my ability to like function as a business owner and like day-to-day life. And then I got like hit really hard with morning sickness, which laid me out all day for like weeks. I'm just starting to come out the other side and feeling semi-normal again. So yeah, I think I beat myself up because I don't think I factored in the fact that I'd be like down and out and not very productive for like several months, and I felt really silly for not having even considered that possibility. And it really impacted my like self-esteem and self-worth, because I was like, I am literally contributing very little at this point to the daily household operations, to my business. So obviously you and how you were very compassionate and kind of got me through that rough patch, but that was tough mentally, really, really tough.
Really tough, and then
and also hormonal AF. So I was crying
very,
like
very,
all the time.
oh yeah, lots of crying, and also you were upset that you were naive about not expecting morning sickness. So that
Yeah.
was a big part. So even if you have been pregnant before and it was smooth sailing, so next time you get pregnant, it will be, or
Every
it can
pregnancy
be,
is different.
it
That's
can
what
be
they
very
say.
different. So she didn't anticipate all the morning sickness and the tiredness, the fatigue, and all that stuff. And so that was very tough. So now it seems like close to 11 week, it's sort of leveling off. You said the
Yeah,
hormones
it
peak.
peaked like pretty hard in week 9, which is when they say like it'll peak between 9 and 10 weeks, because your placenta is like just at the tail end of being fully formed. So your hormones are at like their highest. And then it'll kind of level off, and your placenta takes over from the hormones and can start producing its own whatever. I'm not a doctor, I don't know all the specifics, but that's the gist of it.
Right.
So week 9 was rough. I was like puking fairly off, like almost every single day for a week there. And then we're going into week 12 now. So I'm feeling yesterday was fantastic. No symptoms. Today, feeling a little rough, but nothing compared to how it was a few weeks ago.
Yes, correct. And so yeah, now we're week 11. We have next week a midwife appointment,
On
and
Tuesday,
then
yeah.
our ultrasound
The
uh,
following
the
it's on the
following week.
26th.
Yeah. And so you want to talk about the last ultrasound and the little scare
Yeah.
that you had, or we had?
So we went in for our 9-week ultrasound, which is called the dating scan. So essentially they want to confirm that there is in fact a healthy, viable pregnancy, that there's a heartbeat present. They check the placenta, they check all kinds of different things to make sure that everything is looking good, viable, whatnot, that there hasn't been a miscarriage. So we saw the heartbeat, which was wonderful, like super strong, visible heartbeat, which was
Super
amazing.
strong. It was pretty early too, right? It was
9 weeks.
9 weeks?
Yeah, we did it at 9 weeks.
Like only 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I know.
No.
Was it 8 weeks?
Yeah, I think it was much earlier.
I think you're right. It wasn't 9 weeks. It was 8 weeks and 4 days.
Yeah, so 8 weeks and 4 days.
You're right. You're right. So it was a while ago, almost a month. 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
That's almost a month.
Sure.
Anyways, so we got our due date, which is end of January. I think it'll be early February, like February 2nd, 3rd, but
right.
That's just my gut. But after,
which is funny because Gigi is
January 2nd.
January 2nd, and you're February 1st. It's 01, 02, and 02, 01, and always screws with my head.
He's like, oh great, another one.
There'll be another one around the same time, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, so I think I'd had a lot of anxiety going, no surprise there, going into the ultrasound to make sure that there was a heartbeat. We saw a heartbeat, which means that your risk of miscarriage, if you see it in and around the 8 to 9 week window with the heartbeat, your miscarriage risk drops like substantially to like 4% or something. So I walked out of there feeling really good. Like I kind of cleared the finish line of like high risk for miscarriage. And then we had some bleeding, some spotting happening, which sent me, of course, for a loop. So we ended up going to see the doctor. When we went to see the doctor, he let us know that he's not surprised about the bleeding because I have what's called a subchorionic hemorrhage, which means that in between my uterine wall and the gestational sac for the baby, it's essentially separated and there's an active bleed happening here, which can put you at a higher risk for miscarriage. So it was really hard because like I've spent 8 weeks essentially terrified that I was gonna have a miscarriage. Finally felt like I'd cleared, and then found out that I was like there was something actively happening that put me at higher risk. So essentially went on rest, no lifting, like modified rest. I don't know how to explain it, but so no more cleaning at work. Because often I'd like help out or whatever at random cleans if they needed a hand. Around the house, I stopped lifting anything. So that was really scary. Like I really struggled with that for probably a week to a week and a half. I was just like terrified all the time that I was going to move the wrong way and cause a miscarriage. Feeling a lot better now.
A lot better now, and obviously you always feared something was wrong, and I always just said nothing and be calm. And we had a whole shindig about it outside the doctor's office. We were at the doctor's office, and she was freaking out, and I was like, what did I say?
Calm down, there's nothing wrong.
It is the worst possible thing you can say.
Yeah.
But my thing was like, we're at the doctor's office. If there's something, we'll find out. So there's different ways to say it, except calm down. So anyway, we found out there was actually something that was wrong, but even in that case, the doctor said there's nothing that we can do, anything.
He was basically like, you have to just wait and see if you have a miscarriage or not.
And just wait for any change in symptoms and blah, blah, blah. And most likely they said it resolves itself in most pregnancies.
Which I have this gut feeling that it has resolved itself.
Right. So, that was that. Yeah, so we have the next ultrasound at 13 weeks, which we'll find out the next.
That's called the nuchal, I think, translucency or something like that.
Right.
Scan. So at that point, baby looks like a baby. Like you can see the arms, the legs. So it's really exciting seeing that scan. But essentially what they're doing is looking for neural tube defects. So if the neural tube hasn't closed properly, anything kind of like birth defect wise, if it's not growing properly.
Right.
So yeah. And then we're going to do the blood work, which is called an NIPT, that looks for any trisomy abnormalities.
Right. And
which I have mixed feelings about, but we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. One other thing that I was sort of struggling with is that and this may be more for the men, I guess, is that when your wife is pregnant or your partner is pregnant, you want to like amp it up a bit more at work, especially if you're a business owner, and try to do more. But at the same time, if your wife is sick and she's needing you more, there's sort of like a pull in both directions, which
plus you had to take on a lion's share of like anything to do with the kids, household tasks, cooking, because I was sick.
Right.
So you were being pulled in 3 different directions, and I'm hormonal, and I'll just say it full outright, I was being a little unreasonable.
No, that's fine. But like I said, anyone in that situation can be pulled in different directions, which can be a bit frustrating. So anyway, that was something that I was struggling with, but I think the way it's worked out is that you've been through like the tough part that we had so far, and now it's a bit of a balancing off, which allowed me to go over and there. So there's no balance throughout. There's going to be extreme one way or the other.
Someone's going to be at 25% and the other one's going to have to take up the 75%, right. And it'll fluctuate back and forth. Sometimes you're both at 50% and you just get through it.
Right. So yeah, that's one thing to, I guess, good to anticipate that yes. You have a partner who has a changing body, different hormones, different needs. So be flexible with whatever you plan.
And be compassionate. I mean, you can, like, I wanted this pregnancy, I still do honestly, but like I really, really wanted this pregnancy, super excited to get pregnant, but it doesn't make it any easier that like my body is changing. I don't feel like myself. I Like it's a huge physical adjustment in that first trimester of like I just felt like garbage all the time. It's tough. So, but have your compassion for your partner who is also feeling like, okay, I have a baby coming in X amount of months. I want to provide, I want to push myself harder, I want to reach these goals by the time the baby's here. And they're like, I could see how focused you got, and like you were in your office like 8 to 10 hours a day. Like you were working really, really hard, still are. And then I was upset with you because you weren't like rubbing my back while I was puking. Like, like you're very focused on providing for the family as a whole and picking up my sock around the house and all those things. And I was like, you're not rubbing my back. So we're hormonal. Don't hold it against us. But no. I see you. I see what you're doing. I appreciate you. I love you for it.
I see you too. So do we do telling the kids on the next one, or do you want to do it now?
Well, I mentioned it at the beginning, so I feel like we should probably...
Oh, right. Okay. So the next big part is telling the kids.
Which, again, I was impatient for.
Right. And then, obviously, especially after the appointment with the doctor and the slight complication, I was like, we have to wait until we know, like, not with absolute certain, because things can still go sideways later on. But statistically, whenever it's the lowest chance possible, because our kids are young, 7 and 8, and then, once you tell them and something goes wrong, it's like a big emotional thing for them, possibly. So anyway, finally decided to tell the kids this week. This week.
That was the one of the best moments of my life thing was telling the kids we were having another baby.
Yeah, it was a very special moment. Mm-hmm. You did a whole drawing and stuff.
I did like a guessing game with them.
A guessing game. We sat them down.
It was really cute.
We gave them clues, and I recorded the whole thing. So maybe we'll share a couple pictures and a reaction on the YouTube channel. So yeah, I think it was a very wholesome moment. I think Gigi cried. Yeah, it was very cute and nice to see, and they were both very excited. They had a lot of questions.
Genevieve came full circle though by within an hour of you're not going to pay attention to me anymore when the baby's here. So it didn't take long to get there.
It happened real fast.
Yep. So we had some feelings about that, but we got through it.
Yeah. So the thing it's dealing with it now rather than later, where she's just watching from the side, and then
I think that for Genevieve, a big piece will have her be involved. By no means are we expecting her to be a caretaker, but I think that if she feels needed and if she feels involved in taking care of the baby, it'll be less like she's there and I'm here with the baby. It'll be like a family endeavor, and that will help her a lot mentally work through that adjustment.
Right. Correct. And the girls have been great. They've been extra.
They've been doting on me.
Doting on you every morning. They're like, we can't believe there's a baby coming.
They come and give me cuddles when I get tired at night, and I'm like, okay, I've hit my wall. I'll go upstairs and lay down, and they'll both be in there cuddling with me. And
throughout they'll be like, we're gonna go check on
Max.
See how she's doing. Sash mommy, yeah. So
that's been really cute. They've been super, super gentle and attentive, and it's just been really cute seeing that happen.
Cute. Really showed them the pile of infant clothing.
Yeah,
that
I've been stockpiling.
They went over it, and now they've taken some of it and put them on one of their stuffies, and they're pretending to have a little baby. Yeah. So all very cute and stuff. So if you have kids who are young, and
I think we'll probably end up talking in future episodes about our journey through pregnancy and then our family adjusting to bringing in a new baby, because I think there will be inevitably a lot of feelings from the kids, because right now it's kind of an equal blend of okay, my dad and I came in and then you and your mom came in, and then that's the dynamic. But now that there's going to be our quote unquote baby, we obviously don't feel that way, but from a child's perspective, there could be some insecurity or some feelings around there, on top of just adjusting to a new dynamic with a high needs infant and whatever. So we'll definitely talk more about how we navigate that, and also how we prep during this pregnancy, what care we're doing, what choices we're making, why we're making them, home
All
birth
this
versus
stuff.
hospital birth and midwifery versus OBGYN and like
All
all
right.
of those kind of big things. We'll talk about that in
Yeah.
future episodes.
Yeah. Again, no medical advice from us. It's just what we're doing and
Yeah.
it's working for us. So talk to your own doctors and stuff and do
Yeah.
your own research. I just wanted to clarify that.
idea.
So I had my younger brother when I think there's a five, five, 5.5, 6 year difference. And so I don't recall having any feelings of resentment or jealousy. Maybe I was too young to notice, and it seems like a blur to me. So I think maybe it was happening when we were still too young, and it didn't really. And we all I also had like two other siblings, so
And you had help at home, like so. Like those people could take care of stuff around the house to allow your mom to have a bit more time to spend with you guys, stuff like that.
right. So there's always that. So if they already have siblings, I guess they could be already accustomed to. So like with
That
Genevieve,
dynamic.
when Amanisha came in, it was also still an adjustment because she was
Yeah.
hyper focused on what she wasn't getting and what Amanisha was getting. So it's just a small amount of things.
Yeah, like it's always kind of like she's measuring. It comes from a place of insecurity. It's not like she's like being vindictive or anything like
Right.
that, but I think she's always nervous about not being loved as much or you not being as much of her dad or whatever. So she's constantly watching. And what that means is like if you pick up Amanisha and you don't pick up her, it means that you love Amanisha more. And she's very like, there's a whole component of ADHD that ties into.
Right.
Which is hypersensitive, like to kind of rejection. It's called rejection sensitive dysphoria, but
right.
It's
and then
a hypersensitive.
And she's also with us full time.
Yes.
So she gets more days, and then Amanisha's half the time
Yeah.
here and half the time with her mom. So naturally, I always go towards Amanisha when she's back, again, because of obviously she's gone.
You have a small window.
Right. So there is a slight piece of me giving her more when she's here, but it's also because she's not here all the time. So
it's
anyway,
hard for a kid
she's
to understand that.
Yeah, it's hard for a kid to understand it, but she's doing a lot better now, I think. And I think because of this experience already, the next one will be a lot tamer.
Yeah.
For both girls.
Because they both essentially were like only children.
Right.
That became siblings later in life. Right. So there's never been like the dynamic of like a new infant coming into the family.
Right.
And like in her mind, I'm her mom because like Amanisha's mom is still in the picture. So the dynamic's a little muddy, but I think that they'll do wonderfully well. I think it'll just be an adjustment.
Right. So babes, how was your week?
Good. How was your week?
My week is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've also had some ups and downs this week.
Also had some ups and downs.
It's just been one of those weeks. Personal life, up. Professional life, had his moments.
Professional life is okay. And again, Max has a residential cleaning business. I am a realtor. And so July.
I think there's been like growing pains for both of us this week.
Growing pains. We've made taken some good steps for our businesses. But overall, compared to, I don't know, let's say winter-ish, it's slow. And so that's just...
And I had some staff turnover and training. And
you had some staff turnover and training. And so it's seasonal for
fun.
real estate. People go on vacation. Kids are off school.
Mm-hmm. Our kids are home now.
We're not doing daycare. This day... Summer camp this summer. And they are home.
Yeah. Oh, how do you think that's gone, having the kids home? I think we've done pretty well.
Yeah, so far so good.
It's our second week?
First full week.
First full week with both the girls here.
Of both the girls here.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're trying to balance your business and your kids and like make sure your kids don't sit in front of a screen all day because you're trying to get work done, and I definitely feel like I'm being pulled in two directions because I just want to take the kids and go do fun stuff with them. But I also know I have to like work and get stuff done. So there's been a bit of that like back and forth. I feel like yesterday we kind of found a groove. Like you took them to the gym in the morning. I got my work done. Then I was engaged with the kids for a while. We did some stuff together. Then they played solo while I got some work done. It was just overall yesterday went super, super well.
Yes, it went well, and did some cooking, which was
Yes,
great.
and the girls were helping me. They unloaded and loaded the dishwasher, and it was like super smooth.
Yeah.
Our daughter also, so I have ADHD. My daughter also has ADHD, and she was diagnosed 2 years ago, and so
Yeah.
she started her medication, her like ADHD medication for the first time this week.
Mhm.
So that's also another big step slash adjustment that we've had going on in the family. But I feel like that's gone really well as well. But we can
Yeah.
talk more about the whole ADHD thing at a later date.
Yes, different episode. We'll talk about ADHD, families with ADHD, and all that stuff. You know a lot about it,
I sure do.
so we'll go over that. But yeah, it's day 2 of her medication, right?
D3.
Day 3 of her medication.
No side effects. She's like done super, super well. Um, like overall, I'm really, really happy with it.
Yeah, so far so good. Um, we also had blood tests done
Yes. Oh,
for her.
good
That was
times.
recommended by her doctor for some other stuff. That was fun. There was like 4 people around trying to get her to
Sit still.
sit still.
But we did it. She had an ECG done after that, which was cool.
Yeah,
All of that is like standard protocol for when a kid is starting like ADHD medication.
correct. And
Anything else of note? I feel like we've had a big week,
we,
other than like the big thing that we'll talk about in a minute.
yeah, we, I don't know, it's just mostly work-wise. You met a really good client,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing something with the banks around here. It hasn't started yet, but it will. But involved meeting with a couple of branch managers from different banks and trying to set up some sort of partnership.
So you pick the one you're doing the partnership with, right?
Yes.
And so that seems really good. I just have a good feeling about that.
Yeah, and it's good for the summer when it's slow, and it's a different way to
Get
meet people and
yeah, get your name out there,
exactly,
establish rapport.
correcto. So yeah, that's that. So is that all for the week that we want to talk about?
I think so. I think we covered a lot. It was a big week.
Yes, it was a big week. So okay, I think that wraps us for this episode.
If you have any questions though, or things you want us to touch on, leave a comment, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Leave a comment on the YouTube channel. I don't know if we're going to do just a plain version of the podcast, the audio version, which we can. So yeah, leave a comment. And are you working on an Instagram?
Eventually.
We'll have an Instagram handle at some point,
Yes.
which we'll plug in. And yeah, thanks for staying and watching up until now, or listening if you're listening. And welcome to the blended family. And we'll
Welcome.
catch you next time. All right. Well, do we want to leave a highlight for next episode, or we?
Next, well, do we know what we're talking about next
Right.
episode?
I don't know. Next episode, maybe we'll talk about midwives versus
OBGs.
home birth versus all that stuff. And our week.
I think we also should talk about how cultural backgrounds may factor into like
those decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So stay tuned for that one for the next episode. And
have a good day.
Have a good day.
High five.
High five.